And now, the Android Basics segment. This is a segment where we discuss the things that power your device from behind the scenes. And now, here's this week's episode, Android Basics.
So now we move to our Android Basics segment, and as regular listeners will know, we are revisiting various categories of apps that we looked at from the start of the podcast and moving onwards, really. And this time it is the turn of audiobooks, which I imagine many of you will enjoy. I guess for me, there are two categories of audiobook apps, maybe even two and a half, and we'll get into this a little bit as we go through the episode. One is audiobook apps that let you treat MP3 files or other audio files on your system as audiobooks. So it doesn't matter where they come from, and you can play them in those types of apps. The other category is one where they connect to a service. So I'm thinking Audible. There are others we'll get into if we want to talk about things like that. And then I say two and a half because then I think probably Easy Reader, possibly Bard, although Bard might fall into that second category by itself. But Easy Reader gets almost its own category because it can connect to various different libraries and pull down those MP3s. So normally I invite Warren to kick off an app category. I'm not going to this week. I'm going to ask John because I know John is a big consumer of audiobooks and has a lot to say. So John, take it away.
Yeah, so I'll just follow up on what you said, or expand upon what you said. So there are actually two types of audiobook subscription services. One where you subscribe to like you subscribe to a library of books, and then another type is where you get credits where you can buy books. And I'll use Audible as an example because they offer both, but there are different services similar. But like, for example, the Audible Premium is where you get a credit, and Audible Plus is where you have access to a library. So when you have access to the library, you can your options are limited. Obviously, there's not going to be anything that's popular or new, but there will be lots to choose from. And then if you want to opt the other route where you get a credit, you can get any book that's available, one per month or two per month, depending on which tier you subscribe to. And the good thing about this is that it adds it to your library forever. So it's not something you have to continually be subscribed to. Like my Audible membership has been off and on since I started it. Like currently right now, I'm not subscribed to it, but I still have access to my entire library, and I still have books in my library that I haven't read. But yeah, so does anybody here subscribe to Audible or something similar?
Yeah, I'm an Audible subscriber. I've got 702 titles apparently in my Audible library. So
wow,
yeah,
I thought I had a lot. I probably don't have 200.
I mean, I've been an Audible subscriber for a while, since 2005. Weirdly, my membership got paused because loads of my books got lost, and they gave me some credits, but credits expire. So I said I didn't really want to be paused because I'd looked disloyal. So it shows I'm from 2021, but no, I'm from 2005. I've got 702 titles last time I checked, and I haven't read a lot of them like you, John. I've still got unread books in my library.
Do you buy a lot of them on when you see sales, like when they offer like things for $3 or $4, that sort of thing? Or are these all credit?
They're not all credit, but I mean, very rarely will I buy something in a sale. Sometimes, like I'd say 15%, for want of a better word, cash purchases. Most of them are credits.
Yeah. So what do you think of the Audible app? Do you find it to be acceptable in its current
I
state?
th- on Android, I think it's all right. I mean, I like to have all my content on my main phone. So a lot of what some people want to do with the Audible app, like delete books, uh, and things like that. I think the Android app's all right. You can download books, you can play them, you can move them into collections. I would advise people to play with the tabs in the library because they can be quite helpful. So you have like a listen tab and various other tabs, and it is worth looking at those. What do you think of the app?
I've always found it accessible, but there's things have been off and on that bug me about it. And I think right now audio ducking is working how it should. Like at one point, it used to, instead of like ducking the audio, it would pause the audio, like if you were using TalkBack.
Yeah, that was
But
really annoying.
I think they've fixed that because I haven't run into that lately.
They have. Like it was a break, wasn't it? Like it was not a nice sound. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes when they change the player, like sometimes the slider won't slide for me, but that might be working too, because usually when something's working is when I don't notice it. So, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I use it a lot.
No, it's okay. I tend to use the buttons.
Is it just me? I don't want to get us on too much of a tangent, but have sliders gotten worse lately in general? I think they kind of have, and that's just like food for thought that this reminded me of.
Yeah, I do. I notice it often where like you have to actually double tap and hold and slide to move it. Like sliding up and down will move the slider and it will report that it's moving, but the track continues to stay where it is, and it goes back to where it is after you're done sliding it. So yeah, I have noticed that in other apps. So I guess sliders are a problem for some developers, but yeah, it depends what libraries they use or whatever whatever they're called when they develop apps. If they use the right things, it should work good with TalkBack, but a lot of them try to do their own thing.
Like Google with Chrome. Anyways, I'm
yeah.
Now, I don't use the Audible app. Usually, I'm not the kind that listens to audiobooks. But lately, I think last year, though, I was listening to a lot of audiobooks, of course, using the Bard, if you're here in the States. But now and then, I would see some audiobook in my Kindle app for some reason. And I've been kind of wondering about that. Is there I know they're both from Amazon. I mean, Amazon has Audible now, but sometimes it seems like they give you a free audiobook, even if you're using a Kindle, to where you can even listen to the audio. How is that connected, John? You probably know more about that.
What Amazon will let you do is sync an Audible book and a Kindle book sometimes, and they call that Whisper Sync.
Yeah,
I've never used. Yeah, I've never used it. I don't know if it particularly works. I only want to book in one format. I can see why it might be quite attractive. If you can see, you might read a book in a situation where you can look at a screen, and you might want to resume that book on Audible. So they, depending on which one you bought, it'll discount the other one.
Yeah, in most cases, they do still make you buy both, although they'll offer the second one for a discount. But there might be some exceptions where they do give you both for the price of one. But I think generally, yeah, they're going to try to sell you both, even though you won't have to pay full price for both.
Yeah,
that makes sense, because I was thinking
really
that.
Cheap, but the second one is cheap.
Yeah, and I was wondering what in the world is going on. I'm not subscribed to any Audible books, but you can listen to this audio, and actually I was able to play it, and I was a little bit confused. So I'm glad you guys explained what's going on. But yeah, I wasn't sure what was going on.
What I love about Audible now, and I think the change was probably 2 or 3 years ago, that if you do subscribe, pretty much every book is the price of a credit. So you pay your 2-book membership at whatever money, and then, which is what I have. But any book I want to buy as a member is 1 credit, say $7.99 or whatever. Whereas previously, and for non-members, the individual purchase price is quite high. So I'm glad they've done that.
Yeah, and I usually use my credits on well, not usually, but if I find like a book series I'm interested in, they sell the book as 1 book in a series, I'll just use 1 credit on like the full series. So yeah, it's really nice when you can do that, because that, if I had bought that with money, it would have been, obviously it would have cost more than the books, more than just one of the books in the series.
Yeah, for sure. And you should definitely look to do stuff like that.
Now, I had mentioned Bard, and there's one thing that I don't like about Bard is the fact that it doesn't sync across your devices. I don't know if it has changed this year, but I know for a fact that last year when I used it, it wasn't syncing across my devices. Does anyone know? John, do you use Bard, or Cart, do you use Bard?
I don't.
I use Bard quite a bit.
Does it sync across your devices now, or still what it was?
No, and I think the reason is because it's not like it wants to just download the books and not be streaming things. But yeah, I don't see why it couldn't do that. In fact, I've found more and more Audible books just showing up on Bard. But the interesting thing about Bard is, like, you know, you're listening to a book, you do the double tap to stop playing, the 2-finger double tap, go do some other stuff on your phone for a while, the 2-finger double tap to start playing. Like, sometimes it won't work at all, like way more than other apps. And I've just noticed like some more jank. Like it'll lose your place sometimes more. Just like not routing, like, not playing on the lock screen sometimes. Anyways, that's what I have to say about Bard. Pretty good.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing I like about it, you could skip by, a minute, 5, 10, 15, things like that, or, go backward and things of that nature. So yeah, Bard is one of those that I'm not an audio book kind of guy, but last year though I listened to a lot of audiobooks. So I guess I'm kind of actually becoming better when it comes to audiobooks. And probably the 11 Labs reader is what probably motivated me. But with that 11 Labs reader now, I quit using Bard because I just use my 11 Labs reader, since it sounds just the same thing. And I think that sometimes the downfall of an audiobook is maybe you got a great book and you're probably not liking the narrator or some reason. And it's just one of those things. And that's the plus that I see with an e-reader like the 11 Labs, because if you don't like that voice, you could always change it to something else. So not so with an audiobook.
It's true. And sometimes, though, at least with classics, you do have a lot of choice. So that is one of the things about Audible. Like if you want to read a Dickens book or a Henry James or a Sam Clemens, someone like that, you can go and look at the different versions and play them and play a little sample and see actually which one of these guys do I actually want.
Yeah, so the next audiobook, John, and you're more familiar with this, and I know it's very popular among users, is a smart audiobook player, right? That's another good one that is good on Android. You want to talk a little bit about that, John? I know you use it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just say there's also another one called Listen Audiobook Player, which I've also found to be probably close to as good, if not as good as Smart Audiobook Player, but I just prefer Smart Audiobook Player. So I do like it. It's just for local books. You can't you have to have the files on your device. So if you happen to come across the MP3 files somewhere, and you have them on your phone, this is the app you would use to read it. It's very customizable. I'll also say, if you listen to, it'll play any MP3 file. So, for example, like if you have a show you're listening to on like that you've got on Audio Vault or something similar to that, you could put those in the folder with your audiobooks. And this app is the kind of app you're going to want to listen to that sort of thing, because unlike music players, it'll save your spot, it'll let you skip through chapters, that sort of thing. And yeah, the actual interface is very customizable. So I'm just, disclaimer, I've bought the full version, so I don't remember what features come standard. But when you have the full version, and it's just a one-time purchase, it's not a subscription or anything, it's very customizable. You can customize what buttons are on the screen. Like I have a rewind 5-minute button, a rewind 1-minute button, and a fast forward 5 minutes and 1 minute button. And then you can customize what your headset does when you skip forward and back, like whether it goes to the next chapter or how far it skips through the track, that sort of thing. And yeah, it works really great for local files that you have that you want to play.
You mentioned the Listen audiobook player. I have both of those. That is a smart audio player and the Listen audiobooks. And like you, I've purchased them, but to be honest, I haven't used them not once. I mean, I tried it just for giggles and all of that, but it's just sitting there in my library. And I think those are the closest when it comes to, good functionality and all of that, very accessible, if I may add. And I have both of those, and I don't think that the Listen audio player also would let you stream like books. You have to download your files or upload your files or whatever the wording is. But I'm thinking, though, some of those things, I don't remember. Does it support, say, you have books on your Dropbox or your Google Drive? Could one access that? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I could be wrong.
I wasn't sure either.
I don't think so. Like, I know there's no feature for it. Now, could you, like, when you go to the file picker, could you choose a streaming service that you have like linked to your files app? I don't know. Maybe, but it's not a feature of the app. So yeah, it'll just put you in the file picker, and then you have to choose a folder from there that you want to be your audiobooks folder.
Another player I like, because essentially with my audiobook player, I just want to be able to pause it, play it. It's great to be able to skip back by customizable units or have more buttons, but I just want to be able to skip back by whatever it says. And I quite like mAbook or mAbook. I don't quite know how it's pronounced. I don't know. I just prefer the way it lays its controls out to either Smart or Listen. Have you used it, John?
And another one that we're not mentioning that's worth a mention, and I like it, is the Google Books player, Playbooks. What I like about Playbooks is that it supports both the audiobooks and the ebooks. And so I think if it were me, every book app there should be supporting both. So if you want to read just a text, and you could just read the text, and if you want to hear the audio, you play the audio part of it. So I think that's one of the strengths of the Playbooks that I like.
What we really want to be able to do, though, and it'll never happen, I don't think, Playbooks is a barrier to it. Audible is a barrier to it. What you want is one library that you can play with any app. Playbooks doesn't help. Audible doesn't help with that. That would be good. And then plug whatever app in you want.
I was just gonna agree with you, because you really do get locked in. Like, once you're invested, like in your case, you have 700 books or whatever it was. Like, you're stuck with Audible. Like, you'll never try anything else. Like, if you're gonna have to start buying books somewhere else,
I have bought books elsewhere though. If they're not available on Audible, and I was going to talk about a couple of those, but But what I can't do, I can't really integrate my library properly because, unless I use Open Audible or Inaudible, which are programs you can pay for to convert your Audible books to MP3, then you're stuck with little libraries. What I dislike about Audible quite intensely is it on its apps, it caches the media. So if you get a new phone, you have to download all 700 and odd books again. Now, you can say you don't need to bother, but I just quite like having them on my phone. But I don't see why it can't transfer properly or store them somewhere that I can transfer. It really winds me up.
I think I'm in total agreement. I think we should have one universal format that one could access with whatever ebook reading, or audiobook reader, whatever the case may be. But of course, we know what the answer is. If that were possible, then they think they're not going to be making money. But I think actually they'll make more money, because if I'm able to play my Kindle books, or rather my Audible books with playbooks, for example, because I like the interface better on my playbooks, then, actually Amazon will still be making money, but I'm playing it with something else. So if we could have that synchronization to where we could just access, have like a library that I could just utilize for whatever reader that I want, I think it's better for the user, the consumer, and all of that. But I think, as always the case is, these companies are not going to like that. So it's like we like something simplified, and they like to keep it complicated.
I mean, even if they let the file manager do it, like if Audible stored its books somewhere, I wouldn't mind that so much, because I could at least put all my books in a folder, and fine, only Audible can play Audible books. But at least they'd all be in a folder that I could effectively use as my library. But Audible doesn't do that; it caches them.
They don't trust you to be responsible with your phone storage. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
Another kind of app I should mention is there's an app called Libby, and there are other apps similar to that which let you check out books from your local library. And obviously this is going to be different region to region, but this is something I use in the US. And if you have a library card at your local library, you can log into the app with that, and then you can check books out. It lets you check them out for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and you get on the waiting list if the book is checked out currently. So it's like getting it from the library without having to go to the library, which is nice if there's a specific book you want to read and don't want to waste a credit on it or something like that. So I also use Libby, and the app it's accessible. It's a little clunky.
It's a little
call
bit
it clunky,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it does work. Yeah.
But what really bothers me, though, all this, you're borrowing, we're talking digital stuff here. And so who are we playing with here? Come on, man. I mean, it's not like, okay, John goes to download a book and the book is gone from there. That's not true. So why we do this is just to make you feel like you're actually walking into a library, getting a regular copy of a book. And if it's not there, you got to wait till someone returns it. I find that very funny. You know what I mean?
I really like it. I disagree almost entirely. I really like the fact it does that. So a couple of our blindness services in the UK don't do this, and then that's not a library; it's a shop. And what licensing agreements have they reached with publishers? So the reason a publisher might want a library to act like a library is because it's only bought so many copies of the book, and the author's only going to get so many royalties because the library's only got so many copies of the book. If what a digital library is doing is essentially saying, I'm not a library, I'm a shop, and you can have whatever you want, then the digital library should pay the publisher a lot more money and the author a lot more money than it probably is. So I like the fact when digital libraries restrict the availability of digital books, because I'm sure they're not paying the author for universality.
Yeah, it's just another option we have, right? Because it's either offer a limited amount or don't offer it at all, or charge them for it. So I think it's a nice middle ground.
Yeah, that
and
makes
I
sense.
think
So
Libby,
follow the money.
Libby, is that the successor to Overdrive?
Overdrive is the parent company.
Yes.
So that
Yes, it is.
yeah.
So they got into a lot of bother. I remember that there's I never thought I'd use the word charismatic librarian, but there is one. This was a few years ago now. But what Overdrive would do is if you had a book checked out on the way that John said, they would sell your info to Amazon, who would then try and make you buy it. And this one librarian, she was amazing. I can't remember her name. Maybe I'll dig out the link in the show notes if it still exists. Maybe I won't. But she was very critical about the tie-up between Overdrive and Amazon. But hopefully that is all fixed.
Well, Ed, you mentioned money earlier on, and so most of these things, money is involved, and so I can see why the tie-up would be. But yeah, and then there's another one though, which is a free thing for classics. If you're into classics, and actually I've been reading some classics, great books though from the classics. I think that thing is the LibriVox. Also, if you just don't want to be paying something, but you want something from the classics, LibriVox may be another option.
They have an app, do they? I know the website, but I've not checked out any apps that they've got.
Yeah, they have an app.
Okay, that is typically volunteer narration, isn't it?
It is totally volunteer based, and I'm surprised they have lots of books out there that one could get. And then, of course, there was another one that I think they were taking to court, and they also have an app. I think that's the Internet Archive, or I don't remember. There's a special name for it. They have all kinds of books. Whatever you're looking for, you could find it on there, but it's like you can borrow it, like we just indicated. And they just, I think they got taken to court like 2 or so years ago, and I don't remember what that thing was, but it's a great place for those of us who are blind, and that was their argument.
So 2 apps I will mention. They are purchasable audiobooks. One is Libro.fm, which isn't available in all countries. And the reason you might prefer it is because it is seemingly a social enterprise. So they have tie-ups with local bookshops. So you can have some of your money go to a bookshop in your area. Now, you might reasonably say, if my bookshop never sold audiobooks, why would I want to do that? But I don't know. I quite like the fact that, independent bookshops exist. So you can select on Libro.fm to have your payment from your subscription or the books that you purchase go to your local bookshop. You can download on that app. It's not an amazing app, to be fair. It does have accessibility issues, but a good thing about it is all your books are in MP3. So even if you don't like the app, you can play it in smart books, smart audiobook player, Listen, mAbook, whatever you want to play it in. You can do that. Another app. Well, it has an app, and another service I quite like is audiobookstore.com. And the reason I like this is because sometimes audiobooks are not available in your market, and to switch markets, the barriers are quite high. So if I want to buy a book that's not available on audible.co.uk, and I go to audible.com, I need some sort of US payment method to get that book. But what Audio Bookstore does, very entertainingly, is it has a country combo box at the bottom of its page. It says, this audiobook is not available in your market. Are you sure you've selected the right market? So you go and select it and go, oh no, I haven't. And then all of a sudden the book becomes available in the market you select. But you can use your own domestic market's payment method. They don't have everything. But they do, it's fairly recent. Like it's got certainly stuff from the last few years, but there are some things it doesn't have. But it is very easy to circumvent on audiobookstore.com the the restrictions. And it does have an app. It's not an amazing app, but yeah, it's worth a look.